Hello everyone, how's it going, and welcome to our channel. So this is one of a new series we're going to start, Carousel Progress Podcast number 1. I am, as you may recognize, is Boy of the Cones, and this is...
Carousel Kid.
So today we are going to be discussing a brief history of the Carousel Progress, common facts, why we love it so much, along with our best experiences, future expectations, and things to fix. So Carousel Kid is going to start off with a brief history of the ride.
So, the Carousel of Progress was first made by Walt Disney for the 1964 World's Fair, and it was originally called Progress Land and was sponsored by General Electric. And after the World's Fair ended, it moved to Disneyland, where it stayed for a few years until leaving Disneyland and moving to Walt Disney World, where it opened on January 15th, 1975, with a new theme song and a new show. In 1993, the ride was again updated, and it was changed back to the original song, There's a Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow, and it is how it is today, still, from 1993 in Walt Disney World.
There have been a few minor changes over the years, such as prop movements. Something we just noticed, there was a line change in Scene 1, but we'll get into that in a future episode. The current voice of John, or the father, is Gene Shepard from A Christmas Story. Pretty good movie. The mother is B.J. Ward. She also has many lines around the park. She used to be on the People Mover before they updated that. She still is for the safety, by the way. It's a Small World safety, along with several other safeties. Peter Nelson and Paul Osterhout are the voices of James/Jimmy. Peter has also done many other voices throughout the Disney parks, and then Debbie Derryberry does Patricia, and then obviously we gotta throw Mel Blanc in there for Uncle Orville. Did a lot of Looney Tunes, and a fun fact: this is the only Mel Blanc line that was ever recorded in Disney history. They had tried to get him for more, but this was the only one that he has ever recorded, which is a pretty interesting fact because Mel Blanc at the time, very famous voice actor.
He did Bugs Bunny.
Looney Tunes. The good ones, before they started putting out the garbage ones like they do today.
Yep.
So now we're going to go on to why we love it so much. So I'm going to let Carousel Kid talk about his first.
Yeah, so, I first went on the ride when I was around 4 or 5 years old in Walt Disney World. And I really liked it a lot, a lot more than, somebody does when they ride the Carousel of Progress. And I went home and I would watch it every day on YouTube. I would listen to the song on repeat over and over again. And I listened to it so much where around 6 or 7 I had the entire ride memorized from start to finish. I then went on to build the ride out of couch cushions, cardboard, and pillows in my basement when I was a kid. And the animatronics would be like, like stuffed figures and stuff, like bears or whatever that we had around the house. And I would recite the ride for my family, and I would like drag a little cardboard box around the sets. And it was pretty neat. And I think my mom still has VHS footage of it somewhere that's cool to pull out. Yeah, and I ever since been obsessed with the ride. I really think it is unique, and there is nothing in the world like it, and there never will be anything that's nearly as comparable to it. It's definitely something special, and it really shows the dreams of Walt Disney, and it really expresses who he was as a person. And I really hope it is something that we can have for many, many generations to come. And I hope that that is something in my life that I can work to do, is to keep the Carousel of Progress open and keep it running at its highest of standards for future generations.
Yeah, really nice backstory. So the reason I love it so much, I'm going to start with the first time I ever remember riding it. The story is this. It was about 2006, and my mom said to me, "You don't have to go home for your nap." And at the time I was very young, so I took naps during the park days, long days at the park. So that day, my mom and we did a lot of fun stuff. We did Tom Sawyer's Island, we did the riverboat, Tiki Room, a lot of fun stuff. And then when it was time for the flag ceremony at about 5 o'clock, I think, when they take the flag down, and after we did that, my mom said to me, "This is something I think you're old enough to appreciate now." Those words have stuck with me through obviously over 13 years. And so what we did was we then walked to Tomorrowland, and I remember her taking me to the very back corner, something I had never remembered doing before. And she said to me, "This is the only ride that Walt Disney created in this park." And I said, "Well, Mom, that's not true." And she said, "Well, everything else is a replica. This is the only one in Disney World that was touched by Walt Disney." So I remember getting on, and I don't remember a lot about the first one, but I just remember hearing the song for the very first time. And we ended up rotating, and I remember seeing John in the first scene for the very first time. And I remember just sitting there in awe about how amazing it was. And then I remember rotating to the second scene, and I remember asking my mom, "Mom, is he the same person? Is he real?" She said, "No, they're animatronics." And I remember just rotating and finishing the ride, and I remember walking out with a huge smile and thinking to myself, "Wow, this is truly amazing." And from that day forward, it was always my favorite ride. And then in the years to come, I think it was 2008, that was 2006 that we did that, my mom purchased a CD with all the park music on it, and one of them was the song from the Carousel of Progress, the full clean audio recording. And I remember we would listen to it in the car every day, from just to school and from school, and still sometimes, not gonna lie, I still do. So yeah, that is my backstory of why I love it so much. So
Yeah, pretty sweet. So the next thing we were going to share is some of our best experiences we have had at the Carousel of Progress. Since we have expressed our love so much for the ride to the cast members at the park and to people who worked at Disney, both Boy of the Cones, and I have been able to do some pretty cool stuff. So I guess I could start with mine.
yep, all good.
Yep. So a few months before I was going to go on my Disney trip, I emailed Walt Disney World because I wanted to find out if I was able to go either backstage or on stage, because I was interested in that. And so the person who I was talking to said that they were going to talk to the people in Tomorrowland attraction to see what they could do. And so she ended up contacting me and saying that they had something special in store for me. She wasn't going to tell me exactly what, so I wasn't sure if it did mean that I was going to go backstage, if it didn't. And she said it was something special. She didn't want to ruin the surprise. So we went to the park, and what she told us to do was we had to go, before the park opened, we had to go and wait at Town Hall, and the people would meet us there. We were waiting at Town Hall, and I remember seeing these three people dressed pretty nicely. It was two guys and one girl. The two guys were in suits. They were dressed really nice. The girl was dressed nice as well, and they came over and they shook my hand. And it was actually three of the Walt Disney World ambassadors. One of the ambassadors, remember this was in 2018, so one of the ambassadors who was there was one of the 2017-2018 ambassadors, and the other two were the 2019-2020 ambassadors, who are now there in the park on their term. So we went from Town Hall, and we walked down Main Street, and the ambassador, was telling me, running me through the brief history that, of course, I already knew: Progress Land, Edison Square, that kind of stuff. And then we got over. This was before the park opened. We were walking over to Tomorrowland, and of course there was a big crowd in front of the rope. And I remember just walking with three of them and my grandparents, and I remember him just opening the rope in front of the whole crowd. We walked through, he closed the rope behind us, and I remember walking into Tomorrowland and looking behind me and seeing the crowd of people behind the rope, and he actually led us into Tomorrowland before the park opened to have a private ride-through of the Carousel of Progress. So we got there, and again, I asked if we could go backstage. He said for safety reasons they couldn't take me there, because the official way to go backstage is to go down into the basement and then up behind the sets, and they can't bring you into the basement because of the equipment that is down there. So he ended up just taking me on the ride. We rode through it. We got a private ride through of it. It was the three ambassadors, my grandparents, and me. Him and I both talked about the ride. The ambassador who was there with me, he had the whole ride memorized too. It was his favorite ride. He had actually been backstage, and he was able to tell me a little bit about that. That was pretty cool. And he even told me something that I didn't know at the time, which was that the Robins in Act 1 were actually authentic props from the original Mary Poppins movie, which I thought was pretty cool, because again, I didn't know that at the time. And after we did our ride through, and we talked about the ride a little bit, which I can get more into detail with in another podcast, but we came off the ride and he gave me a Walt Disney World Ambassador pen. Pretty cool pen that has a light on it and stuff. And then we took a picture in front of the sign and again told them how much I liked the ride, and that was that. That was my special experience that they set up for me. How about you, Boy the Cones? You got to do something pretty neat.
Oh yeah, just for the record, that story is truly amazing. The ambassador kind of got to something similar with my uncle when we got to cut in front of a bunch of lines, but nothing on the Carousel progress because unfortunately that was with a lot of younger cousins and they weren't really interested in that.
Yeah.
But anyways, so last year in the summer, not my last trip in spring break, but in the summer, it was my birthday. That was kind of one of my presents for my birthday. So obviously I love the Carousel Progress. It's my favorite ride, and by all of you know that by now. I mean, it's my practice song for Geometry Dash. And just for the record, like I think he already mentioned this, but we both have entire show memorized, start to finish, audio cues. I even know some of the movements of John, especially in the second scene. Anyways, so after that day that I had mentioned why I love it so much, I had always wanted to get a picture with John on stage from the second scene. When I was little, I used to dress up as him, sometimes I still even do, just for the fun of it, and I had made a really cheap Niagara Falls fan. So for my birthday, I knew I would have to try to get it at the end of the day, because obviously they wouldn't let me do this in the middle of the day when the crowds are there. They weren't going to stop the ride just for me. So after I ate dinner, my mom and I went back to the park, and we went over to the guest relations at the front of the park, and we asked them if that would be possible, and they said there's nothing that they can do, just go and ask the cast members at the ride. So when I went over there, I had one of my Carousel shirts, well, it was the only one at the time, and I had my newer Niagara Falls fan that really looks nice, and I'll probably edit in a picture here of what I mean. But they said, unfortunately, for safety issues, we can't let you on stage, kind of like how Carousel Kid had mentioned, which was understandable, but I mean, it's the oldest ride in the park, and that's something that I don't really get about. I don't know about you, because think about it, it's the oldest ride. What do they have to lose if we're not going to break anything, you know what I mean? So anyways, we rode through it. She gave me a fast pass for my shirt, and I thought, like, okay, it didn't really go as I wanted to. But then, when I was done with my first ride of that night, I had already ridden it throughout the day, the two girls came up to me and we said, we want to make your birthday extra special. How would you like to have your own theater? We're not going to load the next one. We're going to give you your own theater. We're going to let you walk around in front and take pictures, and you can basically do whatever you want. And that was, just don't touch the stage sensors, which will trip it. Anyways, it was amazing. My mom and I got our own theater. They let me do the pre-show lines, like before the curtain rises, and they let me stay on for the rotation from like the unload to the load. So that was really cool. Yeah, that was really cool. I didn't get a video of that. I do have 2 clips of the front row though. You can kind of hear me singing in the background too, but it was amazing. Obviously, I had to sit front row, because my favorite spot is in the very back where I can see everything. Because when you're up in... Yeah. Because you know how when you're up in front, you're kind of looking up at the stage? Yeah. So, like, that's why I always sit in the back. But anyways, I got to take pictures, look around, prove where all the cats were, which I already knew, but except for the third scene, which is... I don't know if everyone knows, but there's a porcelain cat in the TV scene with Grandma and Grandpa. That's where the cat is in that one. But it was, yeah, really amazing. I got to look at all the stuff on Jimmy's wall in his room in the 40s scene. Got to get up close with John in the second scene. It was just really an amazing night. Nothing really could top that other than really getting up on stage eventually.
Yeah,
so yeah, that's my story.
That's so cool. My dream personally would just be to, let loose in the carousel, just go through the whole ride, top to bottom, take pictures of everything.
I hope to do the DCP. in a year or two.
Yeah.
So that's something I really look forward to doing, and I hope I can get the Carousel progress. But that kind of leads us into our next thing, which are the future expectations. So
Yeah.
I'll kind of share mine, and I'll let you share yours. So I believe personally that if they do update it for the 50th, which they probably will because it's Disney and they like updating things, I have a feeling they will change the final scene, obviously, if they update it. But however, that means that they possibly would have to redo the first three scenes because Gene Shepard and Rex Allen, the voice of the grandpa, are both dead. They both died in 1999, so unfortunately there'd be no way to get new lines. However, they could clone his voice like they did for Rod Serling in the Tower of Terror, which is completely possible, and especially because John and the grandpa in the last scene don't have many lines to begin with, truly. So that might be some leniency there, and they could honestly just keep the same song with the rotation part of it, because it's probably going to be Christmas again. I'm not sure what else they would really do. But I'm hoping if they do end up updating it, they do keep the first three scenes the same. Obviously fix the stuff which we'll talk about in a few minutes. But and I don't want them to throw any political correctness stuff in there too. That's a big thing. Like, I'm not racist, I'm not homophobic. I just really don't want them throwing blatantly political correctness stuff in
Just to
there.
make people happy.
Yeah, just to make him happy, because that would be such a slap in the face to Walt Disney, because he had the idea of the perfect family, and that would defeat the purpose of making it his ride. It wouldn't be Walt Disney's Carousel Progress. It'd be 2021's Carousel Progress, if you know what I mean.
Yep. I completely understand.
You want to add anything to that, or?
Yeah, well, so for mine, I like Boy the Cone said, it's inevitable that it's going to happen. It's eventually going to be updated, unfortunately. I personally think the ride is almost perfect as it is. There's small things that could be changed that we talk about in a few minutes, like Boy the Cone said. But if they do update it, I agree with what you said about how political correctness and stuff. I really think that they need to focus on keeping it Walt Disney's Carousel of Progress. Again, just like what you said. With that, I mean, I don't have too much to add to that. Hope they don't update it, but they might eventually.
Especially, especially something I don't hope they add. I really don't want them to add a movie overlay. Like, they finally got rid of Stitch's Great Escape, one of the worst attractions in my opinion. We don't need Stitch going through time. That'd be almost just as bad as adding political correctness to it.
Yeah, because we know how much Disney likes to slap movie characters.
Yep. If you think about it, there's only, I think, besides the Carousel Progress, what, like 2 or 3 rides that don't have a movie overlay now in Magic Kingdom?
Space Mountain.
All of Tomorrowland basically. Space Mountain, the Cars, and the People Mover. I think that's it. Because technically Splash Mountain, well, and Thunder Mountain. Splash Mountain was a movie. If you guys didn't know, it was banned.
Yeah,
But yeah. So I think really that's everything else is a movie overlay, like rides.
Besides the Country Bear Jamboree.
Yeah. And I mean, some of the other shows, I mean, but like rides, because I count Carousel Progress as a ride because you move. So, but yeah, that's what I was thinking there, because that just Disney has something for adding movie overlays to rides. So.
Yeah, I think they're also gonna change the rocket. They changed the Rock and Roller Coaster already in Disneyland to something. That's just what they do.
Yeah, they can't actually change that to Avengers because their contract with Universal. So.
Yeah, I read that. Yep.
But yeah, that's just really our future expectations, and just something basically about with growing up with the voice of Gene Shepard as John sticks with me forever, and that's part of the reason why I love it so much. I mean, the only other thing I could think about that I'd be okay with is if they brought the fair version back, or the Disneyland version.
Yes.
I'd be okay with that too. Yeah.
Pretty sweet. They made it rotate clockwise again, just like the fair.
Yeah, but I don't know if that is possible because they'd have to go in and change the way. That's something I don't know about how it is. Yeah, but I know their trains can move backwards, but I don't know if this ride can, because on that on the ride operation sheet in Backdoor Disney video, it says rotation counterclockwise. So I have a feeling that's kind of set as is. So.
I do notice though, whenever the carousel comes to a stop, it does slightly bounce backwards
Mhm.
like an inch.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
But
but
I
that's
just don't
not.
think it can go fully clockwise.
Yeah, I don't think either. They would have to change the motors and
Mhm.
stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that covers that segment. So now let's move on to things to fix. Oh, this is a
We
big
have a
one.
lot to say about that.
So I'm gonna start off first with my biggest thing. Currently, first scene, John's pipe hand. His fingers are broken. They are supposed to move. They are not supposed to be locked in place. They are supposed to move periodically. And that always has been a thing. I did check even the original versions of it. His fingers are supposed to move. If they can do it in the 60s, they can do it in 2019. They can fix that. They can get it there. I also think they need to separate. I know this sounds really weird, but separate his legs again. Right now they're like practically together. And when you see him on an angle, unless you're directly in front of him, he looks so frail and so small. So that's my main thing right there.
Yep. Um. Well. Well, obviously they fixed the hand. That was also.
Oh yeah, my broken hand rant in the second scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, when I sent that video to Disney, they replied and then they said to me, "We'll fix it." And a month later, like they still didn't fix it. And that's when I knew I was going in the summer. And I'm like, I'm gonna be there for my birthday in 20 days. You better have it fixed by then, because I will be down there. And if you guys know Disney, they always take birthdays as a priority. Sure enough, a week later, the first published video after that, it was fixed. So.
That's so awesome that you were able to get them to do that. So, my things to fix, one of the things that really bothers me a little bit is that when you first go into the load stage, what they did was, I'm not quite sure when they changed this, you might know Boy of the Cones, but they put a LED light that is mounted on the stage and that reflects onto the sign that changes color. And they changed that from where they used to have the lights mounted up on the back wall inside these little boxes that they had cut out. And so once
Back to the theater.
So once they changed that, what they did with the light is that the light always stays on. So even when the curtain goes down, that LED light stays on. So when the curtain's down, you see the curtain, and then you have just that one light in the middle of the curtain that is changing color. And it doesn't look right when the curtain is down. Like, it wouldn't be too hard for them to rig the light so that when the curtain goes up, the light turns on, and when the curtain goes down, the light turns off. If you understand what I'm saying.
What you mean? Yeah, in the picture that you showed too. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure when they changed that, because I know, like I said in the server, I haven't been, well, up until last July, I wasn't there for 3 years. So I had to take all my knowledge based off of videos, and really just learning when everything was changed, because before the summer, or the last time I was there was November 2015.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, the last time I saw it, but honestly I don't remember riding it much that last time when I was there in 2015, or 3 times ago now when I was in 2015. I don't remember anything really standing out, because that was before I took it to the next step, because there was something about not being there for a while that made me all of a sudden want it.
You go through withdrawal. That's what happens to me.
Yeah.
It's like I didn't go for many years, and then I went, and then when I came home, it was like, I think like 2 months, and then that's when I like completely spiraled into my Carousel of Progress obsession again.
Because yeah, what happened to me, I was just literally sitting there randomly one day at my house, and some recommended video came up, and I said, wait a minute, I didn't forget about this. And then it was after that again, and I started getting really into it again, and so.
Yeah. Yep.
Let's see, scene 2 fixes. Really there's nothing big and broken now. Obviously they could fix the hand even more, but I'm not going to make a big deal about that. It at least moves again. It's better than how it was in all the previous ones. We could talk about the rug. I'd have to show a picture for this. Basically, the rug that's been on the screen for most of this video is the OG rug. How it looked pretty much forever up until 2013. They changed it, I'm guessing, just to open it up. Don't know really why, but they changed it to a circular rug instead of a square rug, and much more bland. But basically what they did was they cut it, it looks like, because the chair and he are bolted basically to the ground, so unless they had to take him out to change the rug, which obviously was way too much work, they cut the rug on the hydraulics, where the hydraulic lines go and where the chair goes, to fix it in there. And that's also a reason why the drink table, which is now in front of him, they can't move it back, basically, because they want to hide that. I know they moved it before they changed the rug, but that's why they won't probably change it back, because they're trying to hide the lines that are cut, or the rug that is cut.
Yeah, and that also ties into the table.
Yeah. Scene 3, the table, basically, how it looks like it's falling now.
Tablecloth?
The tablecloth, yeah. That bugs me a little bit.
Yeah, my grandfather said something about that.
Yeah, my mom said something about that too. It's just there, and then it's not broken, but it just needs to be fixed. And I feel like before, whenever they updated his cosmetics last, he used to look a lot like himself. Now, like, they make his hair look way too slick. He just doesn't look like himself, basically, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Same with, like, the last scene. The last scene, honestly, is in pretty good shape. But besides the John animatronic, he looks not very good. He looks like he's got some weird face on. If you know what I mean.
But I don't think... I mean, in the last scene, I haven't noticed that the face molds have changed too much.
Oh, for everyone else except John, yeah.
Yeah.
His has changed a lot. And
yeah. You had a theory about them aging him?
Oh, yeah, that's, I think, mainly... Yeah, I think that is true, yeah. I have an aging theory. If you look at the photos from 1993, there isn't really 1993, 1995 really are the first taken photos of the current version, to now, he looks much, much older. If you base his age off of how old Patricia is, because people had kids younger during the 1900s, early 1900s, that's just a true theory. So let's just say he was 36 to 40, meaning Patricia was 18. If he was 36 then, that means he's going to be 62 now. And if you look at the pictures from then versus now, you can clearly see aging going on.
Yep.
Now, I don't know if that's a sign to us, or if they're just going to eventually, if they end up, when they end up redoing the ride, if they're going to get new animatronics regardless of what they do with the voices.
Yeah, interesting, because I have noticed he does, over the time, start to look a little older. You know.
Yeah, but that's something I'm wondering, like, if or when they end up redoing the ride, especially at least the last scene, if they're going to get new animatronics. It honestly will depend, like, regardless of if they keep the first 3 scenes the same, if they're gonna decide to upgrade them, because this is a misconception. When I was on a tour, I think I told you about this, all of the animatronics in the Carousel Progress are A100s. Or, sorry, A1s. They are not A100s. Repeat, not A100s. They are all A1s. And they're all 100% hydraulic. There was a post...
I read somewhere that one of them was an A100.
Yep, I saw that. It was on Carousel Love's Twitter. It said John of Act 2 is now an A100, which is not true. When I was on a tour, Backstage Magic, they actually showed me the entire part list, and like that took them all day. That was one of my first questions I actually had for them. And they ended up answering it at the end of the tour fully. I mean, they'd spent all day looking for an answer, and they eventually got the whole part sheet and said they are all A1s. So, it's pretty interesting.
Interesting how they posted that, you know, with incorrect information.
Yeah, I do wonder now where their source of info is, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of things that they posted, and I'm not quite sure who runs the Carousel.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I've seen some stuff on their Twitter where it's like, oh, I saw one thing, and it was a picture of something backstage that they took, and they said, oh, technically I'm not supposed to share this picture, but it's a gray area because you can't tell where it is, but it is backstage, and it was like a picture of some control board or something, and they were saying how it was there since 1975, but they just have like a lot of facts that I haven't...
That one, like how it's the same exact control panel. Yeah, I saw that yesterday when I was looking through for that.
Black control panel?
Yeah. It's not right. So, but it does say though that they're not run by Walt Disney, so like by the Walt Disney World Company. But I do want to know where their source of info is, because it is not accurate.
Like I said, they have a lot of facts in there that I've never heard anywhere else, and I want to believe that they're true, but now I don't know anymore after hearing that.
Because like you can't really get more straight facts than backstage Disney themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like in the parks, like not online, like in person in the parks. Because
Yeah.
like I said, that was like literally like the second question I asked them. Because I said I saw that post, and they originally said that they believed that they all might be like all of John just might be A100s. Then when they
Yeah.
got the part list and they asked like their manager and everything above, he said no, they're all the entire show is A1s because just of the age of it. So
That's interesting. Yeah.
now maybe something I did interesting learn about when they were down there that they said some of their figures in other rides are hybrids, meaning that they were A1s, but certain mechanics have A100 features in them. Basically, the difference between A1 and A100s, A100s can have specific movements, like exact movement. Like if you notice in the Carousel Progress, when one of their fingers move, all of them move, and it's just one movement, like their joints don't move.
Ah, I see.
Basically, A100 technology is more realistic. So maybe that's something they would add if they kept it the same. Like they would update his fingers, his wrists, his facial expressions. Because right now his mouth just moves up and down. Maybe they could add like actual expressions and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that'd be something cool I'd like to see, honestly.
Yeah. And then I just thought of something else actually on the things to fix. I noticed this last time I was there. If you look at the water pump in Act 1, I don't think the water pumps out on the right stroke. And I asked the ambassador about that, and he said that it was just because of the plumbing in the building.
Oh yeah, that's always been a problem.
Yeah.
It's honestly that's something that's different for every show. Sometimes it's right on cue. Sometimes it's off a little bit. Sometimes the water doesn't even come out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, 'cause
that's
the plumbing-
something I've noticed.
Yeah.
Same with like the game over screen in the end. Sometimes that sticks.
I've seen a video of that.
Oh, I've
Yeah.
seen it in person many times. And then there's one more thing. What was it? Oh yeah, it was for in the second scene. They need to turn the volume of the first
Gramophone,
side.
right?
Yeah, on the Crosley radio set. That one. They need to turn that section down because you can hear it on actually in the first scene very loudly. Like no matter where you're sitting at, you can hear it loud and clear. And then
I noticed that in a lot of videos.
Mhm. I saw that when I was down there in 2 weeks ago. You'd hear that, then people would start looking around like, where is that coming from?
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
they need to turn that down. Well, that's an easy fix. But again, people need to take the time to do it.
Oh, I just thought of this. Do you want to talk about the girl in Act 1?
Oh yeah. We can discuss that there. So do you want to say it and clarify it or whatever? Or I don't care.
Yes, I actually, when I was on the tour with the ambassador, that was one of the most interesting things I found out. I
Mhm.
actually got the official answer to this mystery that has had a lot of people talking. It's about on the left side in Act 1.
The first side one, yeah, with Sarah ironing.
Yup. When it comes up, there's a girl there, and that girl is only in Act 1, and it's not Patricia, because at the end, Patricia comes up on the right side turntable.
And she's younger.
Yeah,
And a different hair color in that scene.
Yes, true. And it's had people wondering, like, is there a mystery that, the Carousel Progress family, like, lost a daughter, or, what is she? And so I asked, and they told me that in the original script of the ride, again, this is what I heard from the ambassador, that girl was written in, I believe it was as like a cousin who would come over and help the family out with chores and stuff.
Yup. Because especially then, this is a historical reference. Back in the early 1900s, or in the original version, late 1800s, whatever, families, especially girls, would go over to other families and help them so they could learn how to run the house when they were married. Because that goes again to being married at a young age. They need to learn how to run the house when the father is out hunting, working, whatever.
Yep.
So that is the official answer, and that's why she's no longer there in any of the other scenes. Because then, especially in the 20s, with the whole women thing, trying to get more independence, and then in the 40s in the workforce, and then obviously in the present, that's not an issue anymore. But that's why.
Historically inaccurate to have her anywhere else in the show.
Exactly. And then especially if people say, "Oh, it's just a mistake." Nah, Disney doesn't make mistakes on purpose.
Everything is done for a reason.
Exactly. And that's one of the mysteries with all the two left shoes in the second scene. We don't know that answer yet officially. Hopefully we will in a future podcast, but that's something. If you don't know, at least since the Disneyland version, John in the second scene has always had two left shoes. So
again, really strange, but gotta be a reason
but
for it.
because they would have picked it up by now over 50 plus years. There's an issue. So
yeah, definitely. I'm trying to think. I think there's something else on the tip of my tongue that I was thinking about saying, but I can't think of it. So, do you have anything else you want to say, or for now?
I think honestly that wraps it all up for this podcast. Honestly.
Yeah, we covered everything that we wanted to.
So for you guys though, and who are watching this, we want you to put your suggestions in the comments below, and we will talk about it. We're also going to try to get guests on here that love the ride as much as we do, because we are going to be the hosts of this, because we kind of started the quote-unquote Carousel Club. I'll also put a link down in the description to our Discord server. Now, here are the rules for this. This server is for Carousel Progress 100% fans only. No trolling, no, like, I don't want to say it, but crap posting, basically. We don't really have any rules on the server, so if you come and troll, you will be instantly banned without any revoke. And that goes mainly for my Geometry Dash fans too. If you guys join the server and don't legitimately love the ride as much as we do, don't even bother to join it, or else you will be instantly banned and your message history will be deleted.
Yep.
Because this is supposed to be a great server, smaller if that's fine, but for people who love it only. No trolls.
Only diehard Carousel Progress, please.
So, because I will not hesitate to ban you. So, but I think that wraps it all up. So thanks everyone for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Goodbye.
Thank you for doing this. Bye.
Oh, no problem.